everybody. Let me start by introducing myself. I am Dr. Eileen Kande, a PhD in nutrition and also a registered dietitian from India. Uh, I practice in the field of clinical dietetics since almost 25 years, and my interest areas are critical care nutrition, oncology nutrition, renal nutrition, bariatric nutrition, and many more, including diabetes care. I have a great interest in research, and I'm so glad to inform the team here that I have two papers selected for publication in the next ESPEN Conference 2022 in Vienna, that's in Europe. It's really a pleasure to be here today and have a very meaningful conversation with regards to our health and our environment. Thank you so much.
Okay, hello everyone. Thank you. My name is James Michael Lafferty. I am the CEO of Fine Hygienic Holding, which is one of the world's largest wellness companies, selling a range of products from hygiene products into PPE and disinfection. My background is I'm a physiologist, a certified physiologist by training. I'm a founding member and a board member and on the faculty of the Medical Wellness Association, which is based out of the US and which is the largest organization of combining medicine with wellness professionals in the world today with over 20,000 members. And thirdly, as a side job, I am an Olympic track and field coach. I've been coaching many Olympians going back to Michael Johnson in the 1990s, the U.S. sprinter. I'm presently working with a couple of track athletes in pole vault, Tiago Braz of Brazil, who won the Olympic gold medal in 2016 and set the Olympic record, in Ernest Obiena from the Philippines. I don't coach them in the sport. I mainly coach them on nutrition and strength training.
Good afternoon. My name is Laik Namturi. I'm the CEO of Gym Guys in the UK. We have a very interesting concept because we try to bring wellness through physical training to our clients in their homes, offices, parks, or wherever they wish. A lot of our clients have issues with mobility. They may be recovering from operations, or they may just have a lot of physical movement problems. So we tend to try and make their lives easier by providing training, mainly physical training, to our clients. We have a program by which we actually have equipment in our vans where so they don't really need to go to a gym. Some may, if they really want to put on a lot of muscle mass or so on, but generally for their daily health and fitness programs, that's more than adequate. Where we really find ourselves to be winning is that it's the convenience and the customization and the creativity of what we do. I'm very pleased to be able to, we offer this program, which has come from the US to the UK. I'm the master franchisee for it in the UK. We franchise it, but we also run our own corporate territories, and it's very satisfying to see that we can help people. Thank you.
Namaste, everyone. I'm Dr. Manoj Kuteri, a third-generation healer. I'm also a graduate in natural medicine and yoga. I have also completed my master's in psychology and holds a PhD in health sciences and nutrition. So it's great to be sharing this platform with all of you, like with eminent speakers like you. I currently work as the medical director and CEO at Atmandan Wellness Center, which is an integrated wellness center accredited under NABH, which is basically under the Quality Council of India. The whole motto of Atmandan is about serving the humanity with, treating them or in terms of prevention of lifestyle illnesses and also treatment of various disorders like lifestyle and autoimmune conditions. We use various tools such as Ayurveda, natural medicine, naturopathic medicine, yoga, functional medicine, fitness, physiotherapy, and therapeutic nutrition. So we have been doing this operation for the last 6 years. So it's good to be joining this platform with all of you, and we'll be discussing like one of the most important topic, like which is very very relevant in today's time. So just to begin this particular topic, we know that we are actually today discussing about all about sustainable living and also the friendly and healthy food. We know that very often we talk about eating right, and what is the method of eating right, because there are a number of different versions out there. There is a lot of emphasis being given by various nutritionists, various dietitians about healthy eating. So we know that it's not only about eating healthy, but it is also important for us to have a healthy lifestyle, and there are a lot of different contributing factors when it comes to maintaining a healthy lifestyle. So it's not only about choosing the right kind of food and having those food, because there is a lot of unnecessary focus being given on organic food, and that is a trend now. So let's actually just look at this in much more detail. And I would like to have the opinion from every one of you. Let's start with Dr. Eileen. Dr. Eileen, there is a lot of focus being given on veganism and vegetarianism when it comes to healthy lifestyle. And we know that the healthy lifestyle is all about, or sustainable living is all about the reducing, giving a kind of zero wastage on food items, and also ensuring that we have something that we can actually recycle and reuse. And also, giving importance to foods that can be compost, that can go into compost, so that we don't have so much of burden on the planet, and we are actually just contributing to the planet Earth as well. What is your take on this vegetarianism and veganism?
Dr. Manoj, as you rightly pointed out, that sustainable living involves a lot of aspects, especially reducing the amount of the resources that you're using, from the earth. It also means a lot of things like reducing the consumption of so many foods which are not necessary. Coming to veganism, there are many people who follow a vegan diet for various reasons. Some follow it for health reasons, and some follow it for humanitarian reasons or environmental reasons. Altogether, if you look at it from the health perspective, today a vegetarian and a vegan diet is looked at in terms of reducing a lot of comorbidities such as diabetes, cholesterol, and other non-communicable diseases. Uh, Certainly, it would really help if people would understand how and how much to eat. Although I do not propagate that everybody turns vegan if they do not want to, but even if they are eating other foods which are non-vegan, like non-vegetarian foods, which is an important source of proteins as well, they should be able to understand the how much to eat, how frequently to eat, and what is the required quantity to eat. So it's not only about buying organic or eating rightly. It's also about reducing waste and reducing unnecessary food consumption.
Great. So, James, you are actually just residing in Dubai, and you have ample opportunity to have an exposure to almost all kind of veggies, including all the exotic veggies, imports and things like that. How do you ensure, and do you believe that there is always an option or opportunity to go for local food items, compared to, depending completely on the exotic food? Or what is your take on eating locally versus going all out there to just get the right kind of vegetables, or all different kind of vegetables, to ensure that you have a balanced nutrition?
Well, I obviously, in an ideal world, I would support buying locally, but you have to be pragmatic and look at the realities. Like in Dubai, what's the degree of sustainable farming in place, given the arid environment, lack of water, a number of things. I try to eat primarily from both a sustainable and a health basis, and that means a variety is important. I do decouple veganism from vegetarianism. I know many vegetarians who are quite unhealthy because, unfortunately, in today's world, you can claim you're a vegetarian, but be eating pretty much garbage 24/7. Veganism forces you a bit more into really making clear choices about processing and the types of foods that you're putting in your body. I do believe strongly in the power of antioxidants and the power of taking in a wide range of vegetables and fruits, which allows you to bring in micronutrients that we even as scientists have not even identified yet. I mean, if you look at the supplement industry, every couple of years there's a brand new super, it was coenzyme Q10, and then it was resveratrol, and it's a constant game of, we found this new magical antioxidant. The foundation is to eat properly, to eat a broad variety of foods, and to bring different colors into your diet, which will then bring these nutrients that through evolution are needed by our bodies.
I think like we human beings are more tuned emotionally towards this formula-based nutrition these days. So it's really important. And that is one of the most crucial factor in conveniently choosing these supplements over the right kind of food. Of course, the opportunity to get those kind of food or the exposure to certain foods, it's also limited. But yeah, that's a good point. And I just wanted to get your opinion about what do you think about packed and bottled foods, because I know that you're actually just, being in the UK, I'm sure that there will be, because, one of the things is actually just basically about as I earlier said, people are actually just really under work stress, and there's a lot of times we don't get enough time to just cook the food. And living in a very busy city, maybe you can look at someone living and working in London, it may be very difficult for them to just access or do home-based cooking. So what is your take on the bottled food or packed food, and also and how does it actually just affect adversely or positively or negatively to your sustainable living?
Good. Very good question. I'm a firm believer in natural foods, and so I'm not really a fan of packed food, because to keep it packed and to keep it, there's a lot of chemicals inside it. London is actually a very special place. There is no reason for you not to be able to have fresh food every day. We are, it's a bit like you can order anything online and you would have it in if you're in London, you could have it in 2 minutes sometimes. So there is no reason for you to use your freezer or packed foods and so on and so forth. We find that, or I personally also have found that nutrition is a very, very important part of training. Whether it's strength, core, mental, whatever. And we, historically, if you look at it, we found that the Mediterranean diet is probably one of the best diets for sustainability. Not only that, but it's a very healthy diet. And we often would try to get our clients to follow the principles of what a Mediterranean diet is, and it's historically and scientifically proven to be a very balanced diet. But I then again I find it very difficult to have a very good training program if my balance of protein, vegetables, carbs, everything is not correct. I'm not one of those people who really wants to put on big bulk or anything. I'm 61. I just want to be able to train martial arts, play my tennis, and and try and remain healthy.
Yeah, so you're right. It's rightly said. When it comes to the Mediterranean diet and the paleo diet, low FODMAP diet, we use these things they have very, very high therapeutic value, and we use this for treatment of a lot of different diseases. At least variation of these kind of food. Well, thank you for that. Now, moving on to the, we know that these days everyone talks about organic food. And we know that when it comes to organic, there are a lot of pros and cons for this. Like it's not that like organic food is actually always tend to be the healthy food. And we also know that like when we just started, organic food was supposed to be the food grown with the farmers, and it was actually just something we collect from the farms. But these days, I think it has become a mass production, and there's a lot of corporates being funded for producing organic veggies and things like that. Which is, I don't think that it is actually no more a food for the poor people, or like the middle class, because it's highly expensive. And also the way that you can actually access this kind of food, it's not it's only available in the malls or supermarkets. And we also know that the main motto behind organic food was that it was supposed to be supporting the greenhouse gas emissions. And these days a lot of machinery is being used in the cultivation and production of organic food. Dr. Eileen, what is your take on the organic food? And I just would like to hear from each one of you about your ideas and your thoughts about organic food.
When
No.
we use the word organic, we generally refer it to an agricultural product that is either grown and processed with minimal amount of synthetic pesticides, or say fertilizers, GMOs, radiations, or artificial flavors, colors, preservatives, and all those things. Now, the question you're asked many times is that, is organic better? Now, organic foods, which are widely used in conventional agriculture, they do reduce a lot of, they do use a lot of these pesticides and normal agricultural products. They use a lot of these. Coming to how much can be used, one is there is no regulations on the quantities of these pesticides that are used, even in the allowed, or the fashion in which it is actually supposed to be used. So so to say, sometimes we do not really know how much of all these inorganic substances are being consumed by most of people. When I have been asked for my opinion, especially when it comes to treating patients, one is that we have to also look at the affordability. Organic, in the real sense, which is certified, is really very expensive for a local, or a local person to purchase, which is a certified organic food. But when you look at the farms where they are using natural manure, or they are using foods that are grown in their yards, but they can be used for only a small amount of population. Considering a large amount of population, it becomes very difficult for people to afford this kind of organic. I would say that bringing a regularization on how much of pesticides and inorganic fertilizers that can be used, that is important. Secondly is using certain methods of cooking, which will help most people in managing resources, especially financial resources, when they are purchasing foods. Washing foods well, soaking them for in some amount of water before cooking them, and using as fresh as possible, will help you bring down much of the burden of using these kind of foods.
So I think just to add on to what you just said, I think the regulations do exist in most of the, developed countries, but it's not really, as you said, it's not that rigid in terms of what is being used. And I think the human mind also says that everything natural is actually safe, but it is not so. Like it's not about being natural does not have any toxic effect, but it is basically about the amount of toxins being used in this thing. Even if it is natural, it can become toxic, like based on the exposure that we have to these kind of toxins. James, what is your take on organic food, and how do you think that this is actually going to be, or it can be affordable to like the mass?
Great question. Look, I need to be transparent with everybody. I've worked for some of the biggest food companies and beverage companies in the world. I understand the games on labeling. I know, I understand it very well. I understand how they circumvent, how you can make a mom believe that she's buying something very nutritious for her child, but in the end, it's basically full of, things like either sugar or basically, processed corn oil. I understand the games, and so I know how to look at the labels. If you look at the history of our world, it's a history of companies coming out with new chemistry that's supposed to be better, and then it ends up later on we find out that there was a lot of sickness and illness caused by it. You can go from Teflon, from DuPont, and all of the disasters that came out of Teflon when all of us probably had stuff cooked in Teflon. You can look at things like thalidomide and what happened in the early '60s. So I don't have a lot of faith that highly processed food that's been run through a factory is something that I should be putting in my body or my children's body. I also, as a young man, was a fry chef in a fast food chain. I saw how the food came in. I saw how it was made. I mean, if you've never worked in the back of a fast food chain, you have no idea what you're getting out the front. It'll change your life if you've ever worked in the back. I don't eat at any of these fast food chains anymore because I know what goes on behind there and I know what kind of deliveries they're getting. I believe in organic. I do a tremendous amount of personal research on companies. I don't believe just the label. I try to understand the companies and their philosophy around sustainable farming, sustainable practices, and the like. It's quite expensive today. I'm fortunate that I can afford it, but my belief is that as long as it stays a niche, it'll never be affordable. Yeah, we can't talk affordability when something is 5% of the market. What you have to do is let market forces take over. And as people gravitate to organic, and I think they are, it's one of the fastest growing subsegments in the food industry, that will bring all the pricing down. It will go mass scale. But it needs to build a critical mass before we're able to do that. That will bring affordability. Cell phones only became affordable when they made them cheap enough that everybody could buy one. That didn't come because of one company. It came because of market forces. So I am pushing very hard that we have sustainable and organic food, and that people adopt that, because as more people adopt it, it will drive the market to come up with better cost solutions.
I think the studies also says that there is about 69% increase of antioxidants and micronutrients in organic food versus the foods that are actually just currently available, which are basically the imported foods. The only challenge with organic food might be the lower shelf life of that, and also the affordability, as you rightly said. So until this becomes much more affordable to the common man, I think one of the things that we all can practice is mostly about the local eating and seasonal produce, which are basically supervised, and most of the local farmers do not have the access to all these synthetic pesticides. They use a lot of natural manures and fertilizers and things like that. So I hope this will become much more affordable for the common man as well. I would just like to get your opinion about. We know that there are a lot of practices that we have been doing over a period of time, maybe in the ancient civilization. What do you think about the myths that has been prevailed at that time? Was actually just completely wrong habits. And as we speak at the moment.
A very good question, and I'm a very good example of that, because I had a firm belief in yoga, which became Pilates, and at the same time, mind over body with martial arts or breathing techniques or so on and so forth.
Interesting, because basically I remember even today in the schools, the children are taught about the concept of food pyramid. I remember, and about 60 to 70% of this food pyramid always focus on the carbohydrate, which is basically the complex carbs and even simple carbs. I was actually just reading somewhere that the dawn of agriculture was the starting of where people actually started deteriorating their health. And most of the lifestyle illness, we never used to have this many cases of diabetes, metabolic syndromes, and all those things beyond 10,000 years ago. That is when the agriculture started, and people have started consuming a lot of grains, a lot of carbs, and our prime diet now consists of mainly about 60 to 70% carbs. Great. So, Dr. Eileen, I just have one question for you, which is about we know there has been a lot of practices in ancient times. Like we know that the times that we had nuclear family, like we used to have a communal eating used to be a joyful exercise. But these days, you see, like even young children eating or snacking in front of a TV, or watching movie, or like even playing with the gadgets and phones and things like that. What do you think about the traditional eating habits, and what are the benefits of those things, and what are the things that you wish that if they could be there, like at this moment as well?
So, Dr. Manoj absolutely rightly said. Previously, traditional eating was for fuel eating. Okay, you need energy. You need your body needs to maintain itself. You need to fuel yourself. Then there came a concept of joy eating. Families started eating weekends outside and overeating and splurging themselves. And then it came to a storm eating, in which people started ordering just by a click of a button on an app. And if they do not like the meals at home, they just want to eat something, or they started, consuming food based on what they feel like eating, not rather than what is made or what is from the family pot. So, as we know that traditional food is food that and dishes that are passed from one generation to the other, and that's how even children develop a way in which they eat food. The problem here is when that tradition is not carried from one generation to other, because of various reasons, because of people being both parents being out to work, or no grandparents at home, or they do not know what is right and what is supposed to be eaten. So my one most important aspect which I would like to highlight here is that what is missing in eating is education. Knowing what to eat as a child and as an adult lacks a lot, because there is no nutrition knowledge that is given to anyone. We learn about everything. We learn these days about parenting, we learn about exercise, we learn about yoga. Everybody learns everything in school, but there is no nutrition education that comes right from the beginning. And I think that is where it is lacking. The education, unfortunately, comes when you have already got the non-communicable diseases, when you have already been detected with a metabolic syndrome, when you already have diabetes, when you already have cancer, and when you already have so many diseases. So if the education is right from the beginning, if people understood, as you rightly said, that in school we learned about the pyramid, but these days it is not about the pyramid, it is about the healthy food thali. That is your healthy food plate, and how you divide your plate into carbs, proteins, fiber, and water. So people are forgetting to eat, in the right manner and in a balanced format. So I think if that improves, even our eating habits would improve.
No, I strongly agree with you. I think the education is really lacking on what to eat, when to eat, and how to eat. Because we know that these times we have something called as an emotional eating or binge eating. And like there are times I get to see a lot of people actually coming and telling me that I get to home by 12 o'clock. That is when I have my dinner. Or maybe some people actually say that I eat my dinner very early, but what time you go to bed? I go to bed around 1 o'clock and I eat something, I snack something like at 12 o'clock. So I think this is actually something that needs to be inculcated in the lifestyle, even at the time of school going children. I think a lot of schools actually now give focus on, like bringing a healthy tiffin to school, or, having like at least one fruit as a snack and things like that. So I hope that will actually improve a little bit, like especially with the youngsters showing some interest on the healthy eating habits and sustainable living. And yeah, so James, the question I have for you is about how do you practice mindfulness? Because we talk about eating healthy, eating for joy, Dr. Eileen was mentioning about eating for fuel, and these days, a lot of eating habits are very reactive, meaning it doesn't have to be because you are hungry. Sometimes even your stress, anxiety, depression, that can actually make you eat. How do we overcome these binge eating or emotional eating by being a bit more mindful?
That's a very good question. Look, I'm 59 years old and I have a 4-month-old daughter. My oldest child is 37, so I have a 37-year spread between the first child and the sixth child.
That's great.
I'm highly, highly motivated to be here for her. I need to be here for my kids, and so I'm highly motivated, despite the fact that I have certainly tendencies and desires to binge on items. I fight that because I think about that little girl who needs me. I mean, if people do their homework, you can understand so much. I mean, I try to tell people, look, when did diets in the U.S. and in a lot of the West fall off a cliff? You can mark the date. It was 1978, and that was when the U.S. Senate held hearings on nutritional advice, and they brought in all the experts, and all the experts came to a conclusion that fat makes you fat, which is a fallacy, and that teaches people fallacies. And so suddenly the whole food industry went into a carbohydrate overload, and the obesity rates, which had held steady from 1900 to 1980, started to creep up in 1980, and they went up 1 to 2 points every year since. It all came back to the U.S. influence driving the entire world into a carbohydrate binge. At the time that those hearings were held, the science of endocrinology was so underdeveloped. No one understood the role of insulin in weight gain. No one understood concepts like metabolic syndrome or pre-diabetes. We didn't understand it. And so the more carbs you eat, the better. Just don't eat fats. And I used to work with clients in the early 1980s, and they would say, I barely eat anything, and I can't get any of the weight off. And then you start to really understand the role of insulin in all of this. So it's teaching people reality, not these statements. Like people make a statement, if you fast, you'll slow your metabolic rate down. That is not true. That is not true. And there's tons of data and research done on extended fasting. It does not impact the metabolic rate as long as you maintain lower insulin levels. If you're snacking on carbs and spiking insulin, then you will inhibit basically ketosis, and then you can slow the metabolic rate. But a standard smart fasting, which we were all genetically engineered to go through periods of fasting.
I think the belief is actually now slowly changing because people have actually started understanding that it's not reduction in kgs on a weighing scale that matters, but what matters is your biomarkers, when it comes to the insulin resistance or leptin resistance, or even your cortisol levels, your stress levels, your sleep. All these things contribute to your weight gain, and one has to be looking at broad spectrum health instead of like just looking at the weighing scale and then and getting depressed or being happy, by seeing loss in kgs. And we also, I think on the same point, we also talk about compared to the ancient times, we also know that we were actually just promoting the eating, like sit down eating, because we believe even in yoga philosophy, we believe that there are certain poses where you can actually just get an early satiety, like something like Vajrasana and things like that, so the child's pose, when you're actually sitting and eating like on the floor, that actually just really add up to your satiety. And and plus offering gratitude. We know that in the olden times we used to offer prayer in front of the food, or at least just offering gratitude to the Almighty for giving that kind of food to us. So I think those practices have actually just gone with the time, but I think some of them are actually just coming back in the form of practicing a lot of mindfulness, then practicing digital detox while you are in front of the food and things like that. Great. Can you just contribute a little bit on the concept of mindful eating and how some tips that if you can share to the audience about how one can practice the mindfulness in their life when it comes to eating the food?
It's a very important part of any health or fitness program you follow. Mindfulness is something as Dr. Candy rightly said, it's an educational process. People need to educate themselves about it. And that's how they would become mindful about it. And especially if they have a program which they are trying to follow for whatever it could be, for losing weight, for mental health, for just core mobility, or a sportsman trying to improve on whatever they're trying to do. With that discipline comes the discipline of your food habits and what you eat, how much of it you eat, when you eat it, when because any sort of exercise, any sort of workout, any sort of physicality without the right foods. And we find that people who follow a decent eating program have the best results in whatever they're trying to achieve. And even from a mental point of view. So it's a very important part. It is really, that's the first step towards any wellness or fitness program is your eating habits and following a program to help you with your fitness program.
I agree. I think the mindfulness has to start from the time of shopping, because a lot of times, like, we do emotional shopping because, it's also, I think even the research actually says that a major percentage of people actually go for shopping for pleasure. It's not for the need. So we need to really identify these two and differentiate between these two. And we also talk about a lot about using all the senses while eating, which is one of the reasons we normally talk about, staying away from all the digital detox and, all gadgets and things like that, and focus on what you're eating and appreciate every single food that you consume, just to understand and find out like where does the food come from, and then, eating in a very, very slow manner, because it is also said that it's very interesting, there has been a study which says about the three factors that affect your satiety. And they say that, the first one is the bulk of the food, which is actually what we used to be focusing on. If you eat a heavy meal, you feel that you are actually just full. That is what, the practice we used to do. But these days, a lot of studies have gone in and they found out that there are two other components. And the bulkiness of the food or stretchability of stomach is only 1/3 of that. The other 2/3 lies in the presentation and visibility of the food, and also the aroma of the food, which is one reason when you cook a delicious meal, sometimes you may not feel like eating because you're already full just by getting the aroma of the food. So great. Dr. Eileen, the next question, I think we are actually just coming towards the end of this discussion. And the next question to you is, now, I think it's a growing trend in India as well, and besides many other developed countries as well, the hydroponic farming. How do you differentiate the organic farming versus the hydroponic farming? If you can actually just do some comparison on these two.
Dr. Manoj, I'm not an expert actually in hydroponic farming, but the little that I know is that it's also called an agricultural or a nutriculture or a tank farming, and the cultivation of plants in the nutrient-rich water with or without mechanical support is one of the mediums in any of the mediums. It could be a sand or a gravel or a perlite, and the reason why so much is spoken about the hydroponic farming is because it has got certain benefits. Benefits of one is maximizing the space. It requires lesser space. Secondly, it is also known to conserve water. Also, it's said that the yield that is produced is higher. You do not require intense and extensive labor, a little technical knowledge of the soil, of the water, and of the way in which hydroponic things have plants have been growing. So it also basically gives high quality food. Now, since it's a newer way of farming, there have been a lot of questions with regards to the nutrient content of it. Now, hydroponically grown sprouts are known to be healthier since they are wholesome with nutrient water that is used. And although when I try to look out for certain nutrient related information, where in India we have something called the IFCT, that is Indian Food, where we have the calories, proteins, and of various foods. Coming to hydroponic foods, it is very difficult for us to get what is the exact micronutrient in these. There's not too much of work done in terms of the scientific how much scientifically how much nutrients this is different from a regular farmed product. So this is what I would say.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Eileen, and thank you everyone for your valuable contribution. I think we will actually just conclude the session with a closing statement from each one of you about a takeaway that you can give to the community. And also, besides that, you can also do or speak a little bit about what you can offer to the community in a minute each.
Thank you, Dr. Manoj. I would say that where community is concerned, I think and where diet is concerned, it is not one size that fits all. I've often heard people telling each other, please forward me your diet or WhatsApp it to me or send me what you have been following and I will follow the same thing. But I think it's all about individualization. It's a personalized nutrition trend today. People are even doing nutrigenetics and finding out what they're supposed to eat. So do not do not be copycats. Educate yourself, seek professional help, ask people who are certified and who are through professionals what they should be doing. Coming to what can be offered, if anybody requires any help in any kind of disease condition as well as wellness, sports, and nutrigenetics or kidney friendly nutrition, y'all can please reach out to me. I'll be very happy to help.
Okay, I would like to give a very simple statement to our viewers, building on a great point made by Mr. Mantori on the role of combining exercise and diet. There are many people that exercise and believe as long as I exercise, I can eat whatever I want and as much as I want. They think there's some kind of like offset. It's not true. And the simple thing I would ask you to remember is an old saying we used to have in the gym where I grew up. You can't outrun your fork. You can't outrun your fork. So you've got to watch what you put in your mouth, no matter how much exercise you do. In terms of helping people, I'm always there to help the DLC community. My focus is obviously on high performance, fitness and wellness and nutrition. So if you have questions in that area around performance and sports, I'm happy to help if you believe I can help. So thank you.
Hi there. Thank you, James. I think you said most of what I would like to have said, but I'll just add to what you did. I find that we keep ourselves healthy, both physically and mentally. And to keep ourselves healthy physically and mentally, so if I can help in any which way in advising anybody from our community, helping them out with what a program, depending on their goals, I'll be very happy to do so.
Thank you. Just to summarize from my side, as you all said, we also strongly believe that the main pillars of health and wellness is all about exercise, sleep, diet, and social support, and also emotional balance. So I think all these 5 elements have to just work together in order to define an optimum health for everyone, and it needs to be personalized. There is nothing called as a Weight Watch diet or like a keto diet and things like that. So we need to be really optimistic, and we need to be really focusing on something that is more personalized and customized for our lifestyle, which is actually going to be suiting our lifestyle. Just offering in terms of like offering my service, as I stated in the beginning, that Atmantan basically stands for treatment of or prevention and treatment of all the lifestyle disorders and also autoimmune conditions. We do treat and reverse certain conditions like diabetes, hypertension, even atherosclerosis, like infertility cases, Hashimoto's thyroid, IBS, Crohn's disease. So we have a complete protocol around all these things, and we also use very, very cutting-edge supplements in the form of the natural supplement, which are all like manufactured and made by us. Yeah. So that's it. Thank you very much, all of you. It was a great pleasure to share this platform with all of you. And I wish all the entire DLC community all the very best in taking the health and wellness mission forward. Thank you.